Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Robots vs. Vampires podcast. I'm Adrian Smith, your host for this wild ride through sci-fi and fantasy.
And I'm Julia Jones, here to help separate the fact from fiction in these awesome tales.
Today we're diving into a story about dragons, vampires, knights, and a king who's maybe a little too into magic.
Yeah, it's a world where magical beings are real, not just bedtime stories, but this King Edric, he's decided he knows best when it comes to how everyone should coexist.
His idea of coexistence, not exactly a fairy tale, more like enslavement with a side of magical domination, right?
Exactly.
And that's where unlikely heroes come in. First, we've got Rorik the Red, a dragon who's been trapped in human form by the king himself.
Oh, wow.
Imagine the frustration of having all that dragon power, all that fire, but stuck looking like an average Joe.
It makes you think how much of our identity is tied to our physical form, right? If you suddenly lost your abilities, how would you feel about yourself?
Exactly. And then there's Silas the vampire. He's been around for centuries, full of snark, and seems way more concerned with his own survival than anyone else's.
He's almost the opposite of Rorik in a way, right?
Totally.
He prefers strategy and cunning over brute force.
Yes, Silas is fascinating. Do you think he's inherently selfish, or is he just a product of his environment?
I think it's a survival mechanism, you know? He's
Yeah.
seen it all, done it all, and knows that looking out for number one is often the best strategy.
Makes sense in this world.
Mhm.
And then there's Lily, a young human knight who is constantly underestimated.
Yes.
But she turns out to be the strategic heart of this alliance. She's quick thinking, knows a ton about magic, and has more courage than anyone else combined.
Lily's character really challenges how we usually think of a knight.
Oh yeah, for sure.
She's not just relying on strength or blindly following orders. It's more about intelligence and understanding the forces at play.
Makes you wonder what other assumptions about these classic characters this story might flip on their head. This trio decides to launch a daring attack on the king's fortress. A three-pronged assault on the dungeons, the armory, and the throne room. Talk about high stakes.
Each stage of the attack really shows off their strengths and how they have to work together to succeed.
Yeah.
The dungeon raid is where Rorik finally gets to unleash his dragon form, and let me tell you, the imagery is intense. He's not just freeing himself, but a whole group of magical creatures.
It's symbolic, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
This fiery, explosive breakout. It's about reclaiming power for himself and everyone who's been wrongly imprisoned.
Definitely.
What does this moment say about Rorik's character and his role in the rebellion?
I think it's a powerful statement for sure. Then we move to the armory, which is packed with weapons designed to harm magical creatures.
Ah, yeah.
It's a tricky situation because dragon scales don't help much here, and Silas isn't built for hand-to-hand combat.
Right.
So Lily takes the lead.
And this is where her quick thinking and knowledge of magic really shine. She turns the armory into a giant magical booby trap, turning the king's own weapons against him.
Amazing.
It shows she can be just as effective as Rorik's fire or Silas's schemes.
Absolutely. It flips the power dynamic.
Yeah.
The tools meant to control these magical beings become the things that help free them. It makes you wonder if this hints at how Lily might use power differently than the king.
Interesting point. And then we get to the throne room showdown. They finally confront King Edric face to face. And he's not the typical tyrant you'd expect. He's young, charismatic, and he tries to convince them that what he's doing is actually justified.
Oh, wow.
He claims he's preparing them for a bigger threat.
This is where it gets really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
It's morally ambiguous. Is the king really a villain or just misguided? And how does his personality and his words play into the theme of power and manipulation?
And don't forget Silas. His motives are even more unclear during this confrontation. Is he really on board with the rebellion, or does he see an opportunity to switch sides if it benefits him?
That's the million-dollar question with Silas.
Right.
He's all about self-preservation, so you never know where his loyalties lie.
Right when it seems like things might go totally off the rails, Lily steps forward.
Okay.
Something incredible happens. It's like an ancient power surges through her, transforming her in a way no one expected. She's suddenly wearing a crown of thorns, her eyes glowing with an otherworldly light.
This transformation is a huge turning point in the story.
It is.
Lily becomes this conduit for a force that even King Edric seems to recognize.
It's like she's becoming something more than just a knight. But what that something more is remains a mystery.
It shifts the power dynamic again, but this time it's not about physical strength or cleverness. It's something much deeper. What do you think this transformation represents?
It definitely feels symbolic. But we're left with more questions than answers and a lot of anticipation for what's coming next.
It's a brilliant cliffhanger. It makes us think about the nature of power, the complexities of good and evil, and the possibility of unexpected heroes rising. And that's just part one.
Stay tuned, because in part 2 we'll dive deeper into what this transformation means, the king's true intentions, and Silas's role in this epic struggle.
We left off with Lily's transformation. It's a real game changer.
Total cliffhangers, right? We're left wondering if King Edric is a villain or just misguided, and what this new power means for Lily, and where does Silas really stand.
So many questions. And the story keeps us guessing. Let's think about King Edric for a minute. He's power-hungry for sure, but he's also charming, and he can really talk the talk.
Yeah.
He believes he's doing the right thing, even if his methods are a bit rough.
It makes you think about leadership, right? Can someone with good intentions still become a tyrant if they're willing to sacrifice freedom for what they think is the greater good?
It's a question that's relevant throughout history, and this story really brings it to life. And then there's Lily. This transformation changes everything we thought we knew about her. This ancient power she's connected to, she didn't go looking for it. It chose her.
It makes you wonder if she's ready for that kind of responsibility. Power like that can be corrupting. How do you think this will affect her relationship with Rorik and Silas?
Good question.
Will they see her as an equal, a leader, or something to be feared?
And remember, Silas is all about self-preservation. He's not afraid to switch sides to stay alive. Will he see Lily's power as a threat or an opportunity?
It adds a whole new level of tension to their partnership. It was already a risky situation, and now there's this wild card. It's like the story is asking us, how do you trust anyone when the stakes are this high?
And how do you even define power? Rorik has raw strength. Silas is all about strategy and manipulation, and Lily, she represents something ancient, something almost mystical. It makes you think about all the different forms power can take and the impact it has on the people who have it.
This story isn't just about magical creatures fighting a power-hungry king. It's about the choices we make when things get crazy. Do we fight for freedom, even if it means violence? Do we compromise what we believe in just to survive?
Tough questions. And that's what makes this story so interesting. It challenges us to think about our own beliefs about power and morality and what it means to be human, even in a world with dragons and vampires.
It reminds us that even in fantasy, the human element is what really matters. It's our choices, our struggles, our triumphs that we connect with.
Exactly. And that's the beauty of this story. It mixes action and fantasy with deeper questions, and it keeps you hooked and thinking long after you're done reading. It reminds us that even in a world of robots and vampires, the best stories are the ones that show us something about ourselves.
We've seen Rorik take back his power, Lily embrace a destiny she didn't ask for, and Silas working in the shadows, his true motives still a mystery. But there's still so much we don't know. What happens to King Edric? How will Lily handle this new power? And whose side will Silas be on when it's all over?
We'll explore those questions in part 3, where we'll see how this epic battle ends and what it all means in this incredible universe of robots and vampires.
So we've explored this world of magic rebellion and how power can shift from one person to another.
And we've seen how this story makes us question things like leadership and morality and what power really means.
Yeah, and there's one character we haven't really talked about yet, Silas the vampire.
Right from the start, he's been such a mystery. Is he really on their side, or is he just looking out for himself? His motives have been unclear from the beginning, and that adds a lot of suspense.
Totally. He's always planning ahead, thinking 10 steps ahead. And in a world like this, who can blame him for wanting to survive?
It makes you think, is being practical a good thing or a bad thing when it's hard to tell who's good and who's evil? Can you really be a good person when you're constantly fighting to stay alive?
It's a really tough question. And that's what makes Silas so interesting. He shows us what it's like to try to stay true to yourself in a world that forces you to make compromises.
He's like a reflection of the choices we all have to make when things are hard. Do we stick to our beliefs, even if it means risking everything? Or do we change and adapt, even if it means we have to bend our morals a little?
This story doesn't give us the answers. It shows us these characters and what they choose to do, and it makes us ask ourselves those same questions.
And that's what good storytelling does, right? It's not about telling you what to think. It's about making you think for yourself, making you see things from different perspectives, and leaving you with more questions than you had before.
If we look back at the whole story, from Rorik's rebellion to Lily's transformation to everything Silas has been doing, it's clear that this story is about so much more than just a fight between magical beings and a king.
It's like a reflection of our own world, you know? It shows us our own struggles with power and morality and the choices we make when things are tough.
It reminds us that even in a world with dragons and vampires, The hardest battles are often the ones we fight inside ourselves.
That's something to think about. What would we do if we were in a world like this? What would we be willing to sacrifice? Where would we draw the line?
Those are questions that stay with you even after the story is over. And that's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just an escape. It's a way of looking at ourselves and how complicated we are as humans.
We've explored all the power struggles and moral dilemmas and surprises in this story. We've gotten to know the characters and why they do what they do and how their choices have changed their lives.
We've gone deep into this world of magic and rebellion and come out with a better understanding of ourselves and how complex the human experience really is.
And that's what the Robots vs. Vampires podcast is all about, pushing the limits of our imagination, asking big questions, and having some fun along the way.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep those imaginations going. We'll be back tomorrow with another awesome story from the world of robots versus vampires.